All right, it is another episode of the Moving Boss Podcast. 2 days before Christmas, Joe Aguirre and the Movement Boss herself, Miss Karen Rabalese. Karen, how's it going?
Good, Joe. How you doing tonight?
I am doing excellent. Preparing for a few days off, starting tomorrow, right around noon. My long week starts. My favorite time of the year, Karen, is I like Christmas. It's also my daughter's birthday. Big, to do over here at the house, celebrating Christmas and celebrating my daughter's birthday. And then there's the week where you just don't even know what day it is.
Exactly. Joe, it's so funny because I feel like your family and my family has some serious similarities with like birthdays and stuff. Because I didn't realize about your other daughter with Christmas. My sister's birthday is December 30th.
Oh, wow. Yeah, nice.
Eden, I know, is November 1st, right?
Yep.
I'm November 7th. My dad was July 17th. You're what?
June 29th.
Oh, 29th. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, I just can't. You got anybody that has a May birthday in your family?
Kaylee's May 30th.
Oh, okay. My mother's May 18th. So it's like, I didn't know about the May, but it's so funny how I feel like,
yeah, my dad up.
Yeah, my dad was Joe. So it's just, I don't know. It's weird. We're meant to be friends.
Oh, absolutely. Are you ready for Christmas?
I have to get a couple more things that I should have gotten today, but I didn't, of course, because I waited to the last minute. So I'm going to have to like rush tomorrow to get it. But everything else is done. The big gift, like for my nephew, he's really the one. He's a kid. He's 15, so I wanted to get him something special that I know he wanted. So I told him, make a list. Give me a couple things that you want. And so I bought one thing from that list that I know he really wanted.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all set too. My wife told me what she wanted, so I got it.
Nice.
And then I went and got one more like really cool thing that I know she's gonna love. So.
Oh, nice. That's so sweet. So sweet. Yeah, you want to get people what they want, right? None of I always like to do that. Ask you what you're looking for. This way, I know that's something you're gonna like, rather than just get you something that take a chance on it. So.
She's like a doer. She doesn't really like things, like she likes books because she likes to read. But as far as gifts go, it's like, I want to go and do a thing, and which is awesome because I get to do the thing too, but I make sure it's not like, going to a baseball game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, right. She's going to be like, that's not something I'd like to do.
Right.
Like, come on, honey. I thought you liked baseball games. You told me you did. You told me it was your favorite thing.
Oh, my God. Karen, it's funny. She actually got me tickets to see the New York Giants play the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, nice.
In Philadelphia at the Link, as they call it.
Okay, the Lincoln
Stadium. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the second time she's arranged for me to go sit in a luxury suite and watch my favorite football team play. And in both cases, Karen, the Giants have had two of their worst games ever.
Figures.
And in each of those games, their star player blew out his ACL during the game.
No way, Joe.
Yeah.
Stay away.
What are the odds, Karen? What are the odds?
My father was a diehard Giants fan, too. He liked all the New York teams. And, oh, my God. And my cousin Jeffrey, too. Like, don't ever tell them that you went there. They would think that you jinxed them, the Giants or something. Right? You know how we are, right? Don't ever go again. Yeah. I remember my grandfather used to flip out with my cousin. My cousin was a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
And like my grandfather was a Giants, my Uncle Rock, all of them, they were Giants fans. So they were watching the game one time. And all of a sudden, my cousin Michael comes in. When he was a kid, young kid, he comes, he's like, oh, the Cowboys are playing. Don't you know the Cowboys scored? My freaking grandfather went nuts, and so did my Uncle Rocky. They're like, get this kid out of here. He's like,
oh my God.
They thought he was like, cursing the Giants or something.
Yeah.
And my grandmother had to come in and yell at them like, come on, cut it out. It's only a game, but you know how it is when you're into sports and stuff, especially if you have a team.
Yeah, you can't bring the jinx on like that.
No, that's what they were calling him. Jinx. Oh, he's jinxing us. He's
Yeah.
jinxing us. Get him out of here. He can't watch the game with us. It's like here he is, probably like 10 years old, all excited to watch the Cowboys. So,
So this is going to be a fun little episode that we
mhm.
here, and we do have a guest coming on today, which I'm pretty excited about.
Me too. Me too. Me too.
Um, Part of what it is you're trying to achieve as the movement boss is you're looking to partner up with people. We talk about this week in and week out. You've talked about chiropractors and other trainers and other different people throughout the medical field.
Mhm.
What is it you're trying to achieve? Tell people what it is that Karen Raveles would like to do, especially when it pertains to other professionals. What is it you'd like to do with these folks?
Well, I feel like not one person is solving everybody's problems. And I think sometimes that, things that someone may be doing themselves, like another practitioner, is helping the person a lot greatly. But it might be nice to have someone else that can kind of be involved in the process as well, like a disciplinary approach always usually typically works best for people when they're working with other practitioners that that are on the same page. They're kind of like working together, communicating different things. There's obviously they're staying in their own lane, so to speak. But I do feel like it's very beneficial to people. Like Becca Torrance Barker, who we have coming on today. She's a massage therapist, but she's more like a medical massage therapist. So she does like a lot of things with people that have had abdominal issues, like abdominal surgeries or some type of digestive issues. She does stuff with pregnant women or women obviously who had babies and things like that. Younger girls who are maybe experiencing issues with the menstrual cycle and things like that. So her and I would be a great partner together because of the stuff that I do with the movement and then the big connection with the breathing and the diaphragm and things like that. So we really could make a nice team together to be able to help the person get some results, and then they can also be able to have strategies in place so they can help themselves too. So that's like another big part of it. They may be getting some of the modalities with whether it be a PT or a chiropractor or massage therapist or whatever. We could even go as far as like orthodontist or dentist, right? Because they're working on the jaw, they're working on those types of things. But we never consider the therapy, I don't want to say therapy or whatever, but the movement that you can do afterwards to kind of solidify some of these patterns or some of these things that these other practitioners may have helped a person with. So now I can kind of help you take it a little step further and help you solidify some of the movement patterns or retrain a pattern maybe that wasn't working for you. So that type of stuff. I think it really brings a nice partnership together. The purpose of this episode today, I really wanted to kind of call it the power of partnerships because I do believe it's so important. And she's a small business owner. I would consider myself a small business owner, an entrepreneur. So I really like the feel that is. I like to be able to support another entrepreneur. So that's huge with me. I feel like the person, the actual client gets such good therapy or good treatment, I guess, if you will, because of the collaboration between the different modalities.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Obviously, you and I have become partners, and we've also become very good friends. It's fun and it's comforting and to know that I can refer you to people. I mean, again, we've brought you to wiffle ball where you've applied your craft and people have seen like some really cool stuff. So I think better than anybody really understand what partnerships are. Very excited for Becca to be on the show today, and we've, I think, done a nice job on this podcast, by the way, of you've arranged to have quite a few small business owners on here, different people throughout different fields, your sister included.
Mhm.
It's I think that's the other big thing about this in particular, business in general, though, right? Is having reliable people, right? One of the things I think you and I have talked about, right, is you understand like to stay in your lane, right? What is Karen Ravelli's? What is her, what is her focus? What are you comfortable talking to people about, and what are you comfortable recognizing? Like, hey, look, it looks like this could be your thing. You're going to want to go see a chiropractor. You're going to want to go see a therapist, whatever, as you mentioned, some of the different fields. You do so much networking too that, again, I feel like you have such a good network of people that, you're just a very solid person. I feel like a lot of people attest to what you do and how well you do it.
Thank you, Joe. So are you. You're a solid person too. I appreciate you, and thank you for doing this podcast with me. I really appreciate that. I want to just tell you a little bit about Rebecca. Becca, I keep calling her Rebecca, but Becca. Her and I, we met through Chris Griffin. You remember Chris Griffin?
Yep, of course.
So he had that open house that time, and he hired like Rebecca just to come in and do some chair massaging. And so her and I just kind of like started talking and things. And, I was just explaining to her, a little bit more about what I did. And I had given her a couple exercises to try, for herself, because she said she was having some, just awarenesses and stuff. So she gave me like a chair massage really quick. And then I showed her some things. So she felt that there was some clients of hers that would benefit from it. And what I really like about Becca is she's not the type of person that had just said, oh yeah, we'll get together, or yeah, sure. Whatever. She said she was going to get together. And she did. Like, she was a person of her word, and she followed through. And I love that. Like, I think that's important because, every once in a while we'll come across people that, and it doesn't have to be in this field, it could be in any field, they don't follow through with what they say. So I, right off the bat, I was like, oh wow, she's good. So she had sent me the text about 3 people in particular, and asked me if I wanted to come down and talk to them. So I did. And I'm going to have her give you more specifics when she comes on. But one person in particular, we had a really good response with both of our therapies. Now, and with some stuff too. This is why, and you've heard me mention this before on the podcast about when, what this looks like, and yourself because you've experienced it, because you and I've done some movements together, how small the range of motions are and how controlled things are. And it's important that when you're retraining things to take your time and not do these big motions and just like push through pain and things like that. So, and one of these instances, this happened with this particular person where they're young. They were, they're a college student, young girl. And she was a dancer. So she really the massage did a lot of release, but then my corrective strategies also were like a release type of a thing, motion. So in the beginning, it might've been a little too much because she did a little bit too much in the beginning. So she had to kind of back off a little bit with the range of motion and just kind of like be aware of that. So like that was how we were able to work with her too, between, her communicating with her and, going back to the exercises, but like looking at them like, okay, oh wow, maybe I should slow down now, or maybe not do both of these at the same time. Like if you're going to be getting the massage, then make sure you follow up with the corrective strategies afterwards, type of a thing. So it just worked really nice together when it was presented in the proper way. It's not like, okay, part of my expression, but don't just go so balls to the wall on everything, because that could kind of run you into trouble too. You don't want to destabilize yourself. Like, yeah, you're reducing tightness and stuff, but if you're not replacing it with something, because obviously if you're tight, your body doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel comfortable. So it's trying to like stabilize you by tightening up. And then if you take away that tightness from the person, like all of the tightness from the person, and you don't replace it with whatever it is that was kind of you compensating for, so to speak, then you may end up feeling even worse. And I think that happens a lot. That's a lot of the complaints that someone may get, like, oh, hey, when they feel better after a massage, but like maybe like a day later they're hurting, or somebody may get like a certain treatment and then they feel good, but then they feel worse like the day later or something. So it's just stuff like that, just to be mindful of.
Oh yeah, I 100%, obviously. Um, so we'll have Becca come on, right? And what is, I guess before we get to her, again, let's talk about how people can get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, they can always email me. And my email is Karen@revoltandmove.com, all one word. Or they could just check out my website, and that's revoltandmove.com. And through the website, you can actually contact me also. So that's just going to direct you, to fill out, depending on what part you go to. There is a question where, I ask a couple of questions, just a couple of quick questions. And then sometimes it's just like their name and, email address, and just to like, what are you looking for type of thing. So that's it pretty much. They can go on to that and contact me that way. Or, I mean, just even through here, I mean, you could instant message me on Facebook.
Right. There you go.
But email is good. I mean, email is really, really good, because I'm more than likely, I mean, I'm going to see it if you email me. Sometimes with those instant messages, they don't always go through on Facebook. So at least, and then this way it'll, if it gets to me through an email, it's legit. Like, I know it's actually, especially if they mention the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, right. 'Tis the season too. Obviously, I think, again, for 2026, it's a good idea to, honestly get ahead of things and get an analysis and sort of figure out where you're at physically and mentally. And again, right. I have found it so interesting too. Obviously you talked about orthodontics earlier, and we had your sister on and we talked about, diet and the trouble sometimes people have with swallowing and, other symptoms and things that, again, you think is one thing and, the issue is actually something different. That's just like a side effect.
Exactly. And it's funny that you're saying swallowing, because and I told you, remember that last week I went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
We did ID4, which is neck, jaw, and hand concepts. And I had been thinking about wanting to do some study groups, just to kind of like try to help the people with the material. And I was talking to somebody on Saturday, two ladies that had taken the course. And they're like, oh, I wish you would do a study group. Yeah. Can you please do a study group? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, is there anything in particular you would want to have would you want to see? And they basically had said, oh yeah, we want to see stuff on the hyoid, which would have to do with the swallowing.
Yeah.
So that'd be great. Like I'm looking for people. And I was actually going to talk to you about that again too, like to see if you wanted to just kind of see if we got that same pattern for you again. Maybe you would want to be my study group person.
I will be in a study group. Absolutely.
Yeah, be my case study. So it'd be nice to get a couple of people with different things. But I thought yours was really good because it kind of tied into the shoulder.
Yep.
So that's something to consider if all other shoulder things fall through. It could be that could be something worth checking, because one of the muscles that is involved with swallowing, actually returning the hyoid back to its original position, does have a connection to the shoulder, because of the nerve, not because it innervates the shoulder or anything, but there's a nerve that's deep to it that's responsible for some shoulder movements. So if the area is tight, it can cause entrapment there. And it can, obviously, if you're not getting nerve supply to a couple of rotator cuff muscles in your arm, then yeah, of course you're going to have a shoulder problem, right?
Yeah.
Not that you're weak or anything. What if you're just not getting the nerve supply to it? And then if you don't get nerve supply to it, you don't really get the blood supply to it. So it's just,
Yeah, it's all so interesting. And again, just the I never really thought about all of the connections, obviously, with muscles and tissue and arteries. And I mean, it really is, it's such an interesting field. And again, I think it's something that most people just don't consider, don't really think much about it. And I think, in 2026, I think one of our goals is just, to continue to make people aware of, the things that they can do, and the things that they should be looking for, and understanding what different symptoms might actually be.
definitely. Or just, I think a lot of times what could happen too is like when I was telling you in my actual intake that I have, I ask a series of questions. And, when people answer that, they may not be thinking that that could have anything to do with something. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, I actually have that too. Or oh, I have this too. Like, well, that's weird. Well, what does that mean? Type of stuff. So it's worth asking and checking.
Oh yeah,
Just
100%.
yeah, because it gives you an idea of like where, kind of like where you would focus. But then and again, I mean, I have like the functional tests that I would utilize, screenings and stuff that I would do, to see, like where the person, may be holding the most issue.
Yeah, so we are obviously going to be welcoming our guest in just a little bit. I think I'm hoping, obviously, that she's not having any sort of issues, because
Right.
I do look forward to hearing about this particular young lady that she was working with, who had a variety of symptoms and issues. And again, I think it's so interesting. It really is. And again, for what it's worth, some of the work that you've done for me this year has been amazing. It really has. And, again, being 50 years old now, I want to keep doing the fun stuff that I'm doing. And so this has been awesome, and learning as we go here.
No, definitely. I think it's great. And, just talking to different people too. I sent her a text just to see what's going on. Maybe she is having a hard time, or who knows? Maybe she's driving somewhere and got stuck in traffic. You know how lovely that is. That was one of the reasons why I'm like, hey, can you just
Yeah.
because I know the holiday traffic and things like that. I know she was excited about coming on too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
it's so
And
bummer. I hope I hope it's okay. I hope she gets on. But
yeah, no doubt
yeah.
about it. Listen, it's I think that's one of the best parts of life is, things happen, and
Hmm.
what are you gonna do? You make the best of it. It's funny, actually, if I could just talk on that for a minute. Sometimes, Karen, my wife gets annoyed at me because I
No.
yeah, I know, right? Hard to
No
believe that.
way. I was just kidding.
Yeah. Um I don't really let things bother me a whole bunch.
Mhm.
I sort of react. I have a feeling about things, and then I move on. I don't really harp on things. I don't really dwell on things,
Mhm.
you know. And it annoys her a little bit, the fact that I could just sort of shrug things off. But my whole thing is, and one of the things I do and have over the last 20 years of my life is I work with a lot of small businesses, and I work with a lot of women and moms in particular.
Mhm.
And if I've learned one thing, and having also been a single parent myself through that for one stretch, life happens and you just have to adjust. And, being upset or, again, it's like you find out what happened with somebody, and they had whatever it might be. And it's like, was that the worst thing in the world for you to
Hmm.
be inconvenienced by that person who's having potentially some kind of an emergency?
Exactly, because I'll tell you the truth, like whatever, like I had said to you before, I mean, she's reliable. So the only thing I could think of is something that came up or whatever. So we'll
But you
see.
get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? You get what
I
I'm putting
100%.
down, right?
I
It's like, you
I
know
do.
what?
I do, because we could, Joe, you and I mean, how many times, like, we literally could talk, remember? Because you're like, we've been talking off sometimes for like 2 hours, you and I.
Yeah,
So it's like we're not gonna have a problem talking about something.
right on.
Yeah, that's
Well,
for sure.
it's funny too. You and I, when we first jumped on, we started talking and just like having a really great conversation. And I was
Mhm.
like, we should probably just do this.
Just get on the line. I
Yeah,
know. We're just talking
yeah.
about the holidays and stuff like that. So, speaking of which, let me tell you about this, because this can tie into breathing and the diaphragm and things like that. I'll tell you, I've had, not that I have it a lot, because it's not usually something I usually get, but sometimes I do have the diaphragm show up. The, okay,
Yep.
and the past, like, it actually did the past couple of times. And with the holidays coming up and stuff, sometimes you eat a little bit too much, or you get a little bit of indigestion, things like that. So, remember the perturbation, just kind of pushing
Yep.
myself around a little bit. And, I'm kind of pushing, I'm failing a little bit, like in that kind of area. And, just doing a couple of extra quick things, like the same type of stuff, I would maybe do with somebody, and it always checks out. And I'm just happy that I have some strategies that I can do for myself to help with that. And yeah, so it makes things a little bit easier. So when I went to do my workout today, I didn't have to, feel all that like pressure, from like that indigestion and that type of stuff. So, just really being able to open up on the sides of the ribs, get a nice, the breath in, not really, like, doing a lot of hinging over here and things. So yeah, so that's the whole point of it, is like, it's there when you need it. So, that's what I would want for people, because there's going to come a day that you're going to get thrown off no matter what, right? We're not going to be perfect all the time, but do you have something in place that you could use? And I want to give you another example here. I reached out to somebody that I had worked with, and I asked them if I could use a couple of their videos to show
Yep.
some of the work. And the person was like, yeah, no problem. And they had said to me that they just got back from their, I think it was their yearly, they have like a yearly appointment, I guess. They had their knees done. This might have been before or whatever. And they check just to make sure. And the doctor had said that everything is great. Like, no problems, no nothing. Now, this is a person who's diligently been doing the works. Like, we don't work anymore together, but we had worked together before. And she had really bad back pain. She had back spasms, and she really followed the exercises. Kind of learned how to coordinate, movement, their breathing together, and now she's in a position where she's able to kind of move better through this, through, not, doesn't have the knee pain anymore, doesn't have the back pain anymore. Now this is both knees, doesn't have the back pain. She told me that she had been in a car accident like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. She told me this about 3 or 4 months ago. And she said that she honestly believed that if she hadn't been doing some of the stuff we were working on together, that she thinks it could have gone worse, because she wasn't like, like bracing herself like that. And she said, granted, she goes, I didn't see it coming. She
Right.
said, but I think that, all that stability that I had been working on, and the strength, and like just kind of like learning how to like coordinate and relax and, and breathe and all of this stuff, that that she didn't have a problem getting into a car accident. She didn't have an issue. So that was a really good thing. And prior to that, the first time that she worked with me, she had said to me that she had gone on a cruise, and she never like really was able to kind of get up and dance or anything. And she was able to like dance on the cruise. So, this is a person who, like I said, she has the capability and the strategies, the movement stuff that we worked on in the past together. She has that now in her repertoire that she uses if she gets into a jam or a pickle. So like, that's the whole point too, like, is having something that you can use yourself. Like, you don't have to depend on somebody all the time. Like you're basically really, retraining like a potential movement pattern that maybe was causing you pain and agony. And being able to do something about it. So you're not, you know what I mean? Like I know me, like I feel good when I know that I can actually do something to help myself. So, so that's part of it too. That's a really huge part of what I'd like to get across to people. And I mean, I'm there, obviously if you need me again, but it's essentially just like physical education, just really trying to teach physical education.
Oh, absolutely.
From a whole different lens. I mean, a whole different way of looking at it.
I'll tell you, here we are on December the 23rd, and I'm already thinking about, springtime.
Food. Yeah,
and
springtime.
Ball, and, listen, like a full season of, stretching right. And, just being better prepared physically and mentally for what it is I'm trying to do. Like I find that very exciting, the prospect, the thought of that. It's funny, even in the times where I've been out golfing, as I tell you, I take my warm-up swings left-handed and right-handed, get that equal side thing going on. It's I'm telling you, I feel like, Karen, again, when you first met me, I was on the door to 50, and I'm so glad that you and I have had a chance to like meet and talk and work out and like all the things that we've done. I mean, I think right now, if I'm being totally honest, I feel as good as I have felt in the last 10 years.
That's great.
Right now. And I attribute some of that to, I do, to you. I think you've been, you've been helpful. And even Karen, I know you're like, we've worked together a few times, literally, right? But I mean, it's like even when you're not around, I still apply the things that you have taught me, that you have shown me. Even when I'm working with other people,
it's funny. I can see it too. Yeah.
The things that you've, told me and showed me, and again, it all applies all the time. And so thank you for that. And
no problem.
I'm telling you, it's funny. I think you had told me, right? Somebody maybe even in the networking group that met you when was like, oh my God, like you're exactly what I was looking for, but I didn't know like I didn't know it existed. Like
that's what she said. Yeah, which I thought was really sweet. Yeah.
I kid you not, when you told me that she said that, I thought to myself, yeah, that is exactly right. That is so true, and again, now that I've really gotten a chance to really deep dive into what you do, I mean, this whole thing is so fascinating.
It really is. And you know what? It's just going to continue to keep getting better because, I also like the teaching aspect of it, the coursework and stuff. Yeah, it's just, I'm looking at it even from a different lens now, when you're thinking about maybe trying to teach it, to a group of people, like a group of practitioners. It's different. It's a different perspective, but it's still like, I enjoy doing that. I love it. I really do love this stuff. I definitely believe in it. I use it, obviously I use it on myself. And so, yeah. So,
As somebody who teaches broadcasting, which is something I love and something, I've been doing this for 30 years. And even before that, I was always very interested in the broadcast field. I was, I'm a born entertainer, I suppose. You
mhm,
know, you're so
definitely. Yeah.
passionate about what you're doing, and you're able to speak on it so well. You're able to explain it to a dope like me who, I got a C plus in health class. I didn't take it all that serious. And, I kind of feel like, Karen, there's so many things I missed out on, anything science based. I had no interest in when I was younger.
Mm,
I mean, from nutrition to like actual, you know, astrophysicists or whatever. Like, I had
yeah.
no interest in any of that stuff. And now I find all of the scientific fields so interesting.
Mm,
And, again, to be 50 years old and to be like, oh yeah, I guess there's muscles and stuff wrapped around things. Duh. Again, I just that to become educated on things, especially something as important as your body as you're getting older, if
mhm.
you're smart while you're young, even, I think has so many advantages. And again, right, we talk about one of my favorite things. This always cracks me up, and I've been going to gyms literally for like 40 years. Okay,
That's great.
I don't go enough. But I've been a member at many, many, many gyms over the years. There's always people who are absolutely ripped up top, right? I mean, everything's going on. It looks great. And they got the chicken legs.
Mhm. Yes.
And, that's like you could physically see like a person, right, who is not evenly distributing their workout routines. And then it's like, well, are you also eating right? Are you also breathing right?
True.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in fitness, and I'm sure people who I even have worked out over the years who are probably more keenly aware of those things than I was. But I never really, I like to eat and then, an hour later go to the gym and like burn it off or whatever. I never thought like, I should be eating food that's good to burn. So, right? I mean, again, these are all simple things that, in a country, Karen, where like 2/3 of people are obese, I feel like I don't think we're getting the right kind of education in high school for kids, as
No.
having been one myself and having kids now that are in school. I feel like they're getting the right information about the body and just how everything works.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I would even go as far as even to say that I think a lot of the strategies that they try to give people sometimes is some type of pharmaceutical strategy, like, oh, or a surgery or something. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes, they'll try to throw that stuff out there first. It's like, why don't you try some other things? Try that
Well,
first,
yeah,
unless it's like a massive emergency or something that it has to be done that way. I get it. I mean, some stuff requires that, but wouldn't it make more sense maybe to try some alternative things
I
first?
was just going to say alternative medicine and alternative options has sort of taken a negative, it's got a bit
Mhm.
of a negative connotation. It's sort of taken a bit of a PR hit. And, listen, I think there's definitely kooky stuff out there, things
Mhm.
that, probably don't pass the muster. But I think if you're, and I listen, there's places like QC Kinetics now, right?
Yeah,
Where,
I've heard of that. Yep.
right?
Yep.
I mean, the
Mhm.
whole idea is there's a lot of people out there who don't want to have surgery. I told you, my father needs to have surgery on his back, and he's needed it for many, many decades. His mother and father both bled out on the operating room table. That guy doesn't want to have surgery, and never will in his life will he undergo the knife.
Totally get it.
My father's done Reiki, My dad's done yoga. My dad got his motorcycle license just because he doesn't even drive a motorcycle, but he just wanted to do it. You know,
Yeah, good for him.
he right again. My father
Yeah.
meditates. My father's a Eucharistic minister, even though he doesn't necessarily even believe the nonsense they're spewing.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good spiritual guy, you know, but he's always been into alternative medicines and lavender baths and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, listen, I
Hey.
think some of it works, some of it probably doesn't. He's smart enough to know what does and doesn't. And so, I think looking at other options is, we're not saying blow bleach up your butt.
Yeah.
That's a little much, but as far as alternatives, I definitely think, especially if you're repeatedly getting the same treatments and you're not
Mm-hmm.
getting any better, that tells me that's not working. It's
Yeah. Oh,
maintaining. That's not good.
no, definitely. It might. Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of it too is your mindset. A lot of it's the mindset. Because like if you have a really crappy mindset, about stuff, like I think that's gonna kind of, that's gonna play into it too. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. I don't think it's always just one thing, So that's why I
That's
wanted to have different people on here because
yeah.
different
You know
people
what,
can help.
Karen, at some point you're going to have to meet my dad. And I don't know if
Hmm.
my dad would ever go on a podcast, but if he did, it would have to be this one because I'll tell you right
Hmm.
now, what you just said, I 100% believe. I believe in, if you can mentally see it in your brain, I
Yeah,
think you're capable of achieving it.
definitely, definitely.
And
Yeah,
I
but
know there's a term for that, and I cannot think of the term for the life of me. I had a conversation with somebody like 3 days ago, and they actually said that about self-visualization.
hmm
But my father has always preached that it's all in your mind, and that was again part of the meditation, the Reiki, stuff like that. He got into, and my dad's a very conservative, straightforward looking dude, but
hmm
has just always looked into alternative things. And again, some of it's worked, some of it hasn't. He went for acupuncture because of
Yep,
the back issue, you know.
yep.
Um,
It's funny you say that. My mother told me that I guess my father had tried acupuncture at some point too. Like I didn't realize this, but he did, and I guess he got good response from it. But yeah, it's like your dad's Italian or Portuguese.
my dad's the Portuguese.
Okay, but still, they're very similar, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's just how they were. They're like, oh, like get over it, or you're fine, or right, or right, probably the same type of attitude, right?
Karen,
Yeah.
my grandfather, and then my father both worked for Metro North Railroad. And
Cool.
when my grandfather, who was an immigrant to this country, was working for Metro North, he was doing the job of two men. There should have been two guys doing the job he was doing.
Yep.
He also, at the end of the day, used to wash his tools in asbestos. Yeah. And so my father became the president of the union and literally had the goal of like avenging his father and the poor treatment that he had, which is, I think, where I get both my pettiness, and my
Your
my lust
toughness,
for
like,
revenge.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, right, yeah,
So
or just like, "Don't
there
mess
you
with my
go.
family." Yeah, but that's like family. Like, look at you're like that with your family. I mean, you've told me stories when you felt like people were messing with your kids. Like,
Yeah, right.
"Don't
That's
mess with my kid." Yeah, no,
right.
I get it.
That'll
I
never
totally
work
get it.
out for anybody.
Well, that's how I feel about my nephew, My sister's like, "Oh, you always fall for his BS," but hey,
Well,
maybe I
what are you
do.
gonna do? Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. It's funny. We were talking before about how life happens and things come up. And as
Yeah.
it turns out, Becca Torrance Barker is here and
Yeah.
she is going to join us right
Hey,
now. I got to figure out why that's doing that. All
it's like
right.
Hollywood
There we go.
Squares, right?
There it is.
Yeah.
Always. Hey, guys.
Hey,
Hey, how you
Becca.
doing? How are you?
I'm good. How are both of you?
Great, great. We're so happy to have you on here.
Thank you so much for inviting
Yeah.
me. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. So I was kind of filling Joe in a little bit about you, but I definitely want you to take the show and tell us how wonderful you are. And maybe if you want to share about the experience that you and I had together with the young dancer.
It has been
If you're feeling
amazing.
up to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as Karen knows, I am a licensed massage therapist of 20 years. So I have been working with people for a long time, helping them feel better. I started by doing a lot of therapeutic work, a lot of pain management, a lot of range of motion issues. And at some point, about 10 years ago, I was referred to receive abdominal therapy. And it actually comes from Belize. It's Mayan abdominal therapy. I had never heard of it before as a massage therapist, didn't even know it was a thing. So I was thrilled to learn about it. And that was it. I was all in. So I studied extensively the Mayan work. I also studied the shiatsu form of abdominal work, visceral manipulation, the Thai form of abdominal work. So it's really been an interesting journey learning about how working on the abdomen and working through the hips can have such a profound effect on the pelvic floor. And the pelvic floor is, for so long, was this taboo thing we don't talk about. And even abdominals, like we don't look at them unless they look like they should be on a magazine. People often don't like touching them unless they're just washing them in the shower. We certainly don't just talk about it in general. Like, how do you feel? We talk about conditions. Oh, yes. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have that. But by massaging the abdomen, by working on a range of motion through the rib cage, we can have a really profound effect on what's going on in our pelvic bowl. And that's why I love this work so much. It's all external work. It's all, everything we do is completely within our scope of practice as a massage therapist here in Connecticut. And it's really profound. So Karen and I were working on a client of mine. She is a dancer. When I started working on her, she was a sophomore in high school, was having some really sharp pain right inside her right hip. And dancing made it worse. So we did, and she was referred to me by another massage therapist that had used, he had used all the tools in his toolkit and wasn't quite finding the relief for her. So sent her my way for abdominal work. And we did abdominal work, but there was more to it than that. I also noticed that her rib cage wasn't expanding all the way when she was breathing. Her diaphragm felt very fixed. And her TFL and some of the muscles of her hip were involved, because when I did massage them, that would reproduce the pain in her abdomen, which is fascinating. So we did a lot of work and we found great ways of management. So we learned how to manage it so she could get through her performances and her recitals and know how to care for herself, but it wasn't really alleviating it. So fast forward to a month ago, I met Karen and I was light up, like instant light bulb. I said, what she is doing is exactly what a few of my clients need, particularly this young dancer. So, and she is now a senior in high school. Well, she was a senior. No, she's a freshman in college. So she was home on break. Mom arranged for her to come on in. I arranged for Karen to be there as well. Everyone had permission. We were all on the up and up there. And Karen worked her through some very simple but very effective exercises. Karen, do you want to talk about that component of it?
Sure. So we just worked on some different diaphragmatic breathing, different pendulums. Well, we call them pendulums in the immaculate dissection, but corrective exercise strategies, working the abdominal muscles and putting her into like a stabilizing activity afterwards, like a neurodevelopmental position. So that's pretty much how we went on that with her.
And it all felt great to her. She had no negative feedback about it. It all felt very comfortable. And we said, let's see how it goes. So right after she met with Karen for that part, she got on my table for her typical massage. And within 10 minutes of me having hands on her, she had this massive release. So I was working on her abdomen and her core muscles had a giant spasm. And then they completely melted like butter. And we had not had that before. So this was definitely related to the work Karen did ahead of time. But after that, she felt amazing. She said she had not felt that loose before. So, as can happen when we have those huge releases all at once, she did have a health crisis, a healing crisis. So the next day she was in a lot of pain because her body had shifted just a lot very quickly. Talked her and mom through that. Mom completely understood because mom's been down that road. Mom's a dancer too. And by a couple days later, she felt great. The following weekend, she had a recital and she danced without pain for the first time in 4 years.
Oh.
So she got through her entire recital and she told mom, she said, that is the most fun I have had dancing in I can't even remember how long. And that's why we do what we do, because we want these, I'm not here to just have people see me week after week after week with no benefit and no change. I want to create sustained change so people feel better and can live their lives without pain.
Exactly. You see why I really connected with her, Joe? And Joe, you've been talking to me for like the longest, so you can totally get why her and I really hit it off when we first met.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Becca, just listening to what you're saying, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, right? I was, before you came on with us, I was just saying to Karen, there's so many different components to health, and I'm just learning as we're going here. I just turned 50 this year. I'm trying to really embrace this and learn more, because just from even stretching, I do a lot of extracurricular sports in my leisure. And Karen has, the first time I met her, we were on a Zoom because we were in a networking group, and I'm like, oh, I hurt my shoulder. And I mean, over Zoom in 15 minutes, the pain in my shoulder was gone, and I just think it's so important for people, especially people in this age bracket. But then again, if you're younger, now's the time to really embrace this and understand it. I think, it's funny, you're talking about abs, right? And if you don't have washboard abs, or you're washing them in the shower, unless there's something wrong with it, you would never, ever go get that looked at. You would never do anything. And I think that's insane that we do it like that. Why?
Yeah. We've grown up to be so disconnected from our digestive system and from the core of our body there, just because of our cultural taboos, which are slowly changing. I mean, they're even talking about pelvic floor in some Peloton classes now. So it is starting to become more commonplace, which is great, right? We need people talking about this and sharing their experiences so that we can get to the heart of these matters. And you're right. When people go for a massage, never do they ever think, oh, hey, maybe my abdomen needs massaging. And your entry-level massage school spends maybe a day, maybe 2 days talking about abdominal massage. It's really a specialty. So it's been quite an honor learning this work, honoring the tradition that it comes from, and just helping people. It's really amazing. So.
Yeah, it is. And, when you think about the support system in your body, that is a huge, we talk about intrinsic stability, and your abdominal muscles, your diaphragm, that's your intrinsic core stability, part of your intrinsic core stability system. So if that's kind of off, that's going to throw pretty much everything off.
Absolutely. And, we have so many diaphragms in our body, and if one is tight, they're all tight. So if you're not breathing properly, your pelvic floor is not working properly. The bottom of your feet aren't working properly. The floor of your mouth isn't working properly. So they're all tied.
Right on. She's right on the money with that. Yeah, it's
right?
so true.
Your breathing diaphragm just is the middle part of your entire thoracic abdominal cavity. So we really need to make sure the whole thing is healthy, which means we're loosening that diaphragm. Because when that's tight, it's also putting pressure on all of those nerves that innervate your pelvic bowl and your digestive system, your arterial blood supply, your venous return, your lymph. And it's all about improving flow. If we can get better flow through your abdomen to your digestive system, to your pelvic floor, to all of the organs, your health is just going to be better. I'm not doing any magic. I'm really not. Your body knows exactly what to do. It just needs the right stuff.
Exactly. And you know
Real
what, Joe,
quick,
you've
wait,
heard me
it's-
talk about that too.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
funny
happy
she says
somebody
that.
else is saying it.
I say all the time, like Karen's a magician. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I've seen her. Becca, there was this guy one day who went golfing and he could not even stand up straight.
Oh,
And
Matt?
I mean,
Matt?
yeah, Matt.
Oh.
Like 20 minutes later, the guy was like hitting balls over the fence. He was. I mean, I was like, how is that guy even? He's running around right now. Makes no sense. I mean, again, I understand it's not magic, and you know, it's just great knowledge that you guys have, and I feel bad that people really don't know this stuff, and that again, until you really, it's like you really need this.
Yeah.
Before you go out and seek it. And again, I think people should be more proactive here.
Yeah.
Most of my clients, especially for abdominal work, are referrals. So I have chiropractors in the area that refer, DOs, naturopaths, and because they're more informed, right? They're just going to know about more of the modalities that are available. And it's wonderful because I love the naturopaths and the DOs and the chiropractors. They're supporting the body in different ways, right? But we all know sometimes it's not just one thing the body needs. Sometimes it's several things coming together to form that perfect solution for you. So even me, if I have a client that finds me first and we're not getting the results, I'll refer them out to some of those other practitioners because their body clearly needs more than just the one thing.
Yep, exactly. This is why I love her, because I mean, it's so true, right, Joe? We had a conversation about that before she came on, about the power of partnerships. That's really what I want to call this episode, the power of partnerships.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's not about what I can do individually as a practitioner. It's what we can bring to the table collectively. Because I always tell my clients, give me 3 sessions. And if we haven't noticed a change, if you haven't felt some shift, I'm not the right person for you. You should have felt a shift within 3 months. And that's usually all it is, right? You know, and even with therapeutic work, pain management could be a little different. Like, give me 6 sessions. Let's see where you are. Because if there's no change, I'm not the right person for you. Let's send you to who can help you.
Exactly. Or the person may need some type of imaging or something to see if there's some kind of structural thing or something.
Exactly.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on that. Yeah, at least some type of change.
Yeah.
Within a few. And
that's the other thing, the way I work, and Karen, I think you work the same way. I work until I feel change in the tissue. I am not working until I feel total release. That is never my goal, because that is almost over treating. That is too much for the body to try to assimilate all at once. So I'm just working until I feel those muscles shift a little bit. Then we're done. We move to the next thing.
And well, with my approach too, is having the person like really work small ranges of motion.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that is going to be most effective for them, because like probably, as we saw with the young lady that you and I worked with, I think she was doing, you know, way too much and probably doing too much range of motion too. So that will definitely throw you off.
She was extending her range of motion, which is part of why that huge release happened. And it was just that little trickle effect, a little too much too soon.
Yep, definitely. So yeah, it's just, it's learning too. It's even learning about your own self. Like, I mean, let's face it, Becca, even you and I, when we were doing things ourselves, right? Learning or even doing a movement, we may have done something a little much and we're like, ooh, okay. Let me check myself there. Yeah. So
who doesn't go to the gym and lift a little too much or pull a little too hard, and then the next day, oh, what did I do?
Exactly. Yeah. True.
Because we all think we're Superman.
True.
Well, right. And so, and this is one of the things I talk to Karen a lot about, you know, is I think when people overdo it, pull something, feel whatever they feel, they don't even know what to do with that. You know what I mean? Some people are like, you know what? I'll just go to the gym tomorrow and work my way through it. Terrible idea, right? Some people are like, I'm just going to rest for a couple days, or, you know, what would you both recommend to people when they're working out if you feel something pulling somewhere or some shooting pain, what would you say is like what's the first thing they should do?
Usually what I do, if something's coming on, it's acute, it's rapid onset, we definitely need to move slowly. We're moving intentionally and slowly through the movement, because movement is actually what does help the healing process. And we're kind of getting away from that ice model, and we're encouraging heat instead because it gets more of those nutrients to the tissues that need it. So am I going to recommend that you go out and run a marathon and go lifting again? No, but I'm going to suggest that you go for your walk and you swing your arms, like just intentional, methodical movement. That's what's going to help get us there.
And I'll tell you the truth, Joe, I'm like, as you know, I'm big on breathing, on the big breathing stuff. So like really just kind of like putting yourself in some of those stabilizing positions, like getting on your stomach, getting on your back, not stretching things like crazy. Maybe moving something in both ranges of motion. So like, let's just say your neck is stiff here, not going like this, maybe
Right.
like moving it to the side and then the opposite side, that side, the opposite side, like, just like moving slow range of motion, not just concentrating on one area all the time or hinging on one spot all the time. Cause that's the kind of stuff that,
it has to be equal. You always have to do both sides.
Yep, definitely.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I think that's the big consensus that people have is they're I'm just going to stretch, but maybe you're already on stretch. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of things that happen too is like usually when you feel the perception of something needing like stretching, it's already on stretch. You usually don't feel a tissue that actually probably needs to be stretched. Something, so you just be careful with that. Like don't just go stretching things out. And I also want to piggyback on what Rebecca said about the ice. The guy, I can't remember his name, that actually said ice was good for you. He actually took that back, saying that ice is not really like, because ice usually typically is used, from what my understanding is if you want to stop bleeding, but not for like that type of stuff. Because
it's a vasoconstrictor.
It's constricting.
So it's constricting your blood vessels. So, it can be helpful on the neck if you have a migraine, because sometimes it's because you have too much dilation happening going to the head. Right. So ice can be really effective for managing headaches and migraines. When you're dealing with a muscle injury, not so great. Because we want to keep blood flow going to that muscle. That's what's going to heal it. You need the oxygen and nutrient dense blood. So that's why we want that there. And speaking of 50, welcome to the club. Now we sleep wrong and we wake up with a pain in our neck. And then we're walking around like this all day.
No, it's true. It's so true. Or like, or things just feel like sometimes you might not feel as solid as you thought you felt before.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to a client about that yesterday, how she just doesn't feel supported in her body. So that's one of her goals for the next year, is to work on her core development to help get that strength back.
Yep.
And having full function, having full range of motion also help with that. So that's also how Karen's and my work help people attain those goals.
Definitely. Yep.
Becca, how can people reach out to you, maybe schedule massage, get looked at? What would be you're at Bodyworks Massage is your establishment?
It is. I'm located in Vernon. My website is bodyworksct.com. And I can also be reached if you want to email me, Becca, BECCA, at bodyworksct.com. And when people have questions, I'm happy to schedule a phone consultation. We'll talk about what this work looks like, because it's not a typical massage. It does work a little differently. So we talk about all of that. We talk about what issues you might be having and whether this might be a good fit for you.
You mentioned, obviously, you get referrals and stuff. What would you say are maybe the top couple of things that you see that sort of ends up in your lane?
So first is digestive issues. So I have people with IBS, I have people with SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. So I get a lot of that referred as well. SIBO is often related to poor bowel motility. And this work, the research shows that abdominal massage does increase your motility. So that's a good thing. We're sweeping the bacteria out more effectively. And that's also what I love about abdominal massage. We actually have research that supports it now. So it's really nice to see that. It's good to have a body of research growing and supporting what this is. So anyway, the IBS and SIBO are the first thing. I also have people coming to me with a lot of period pain. So whether they're having PMS or really painful periods, bleeding too long, bleeding too heavily, this work, just by improving your systems of flow, can often help resolve those issues all on their own. There is 2 research articles, I believe, 1 or 2, that show that abdominal massage does reduce pain caused by endometriosis as well. And that's huge because endo really does not have a cure. So it's all about management at that perspective. And then I have a number of people that are referred to me for reproductive challenges. They're having trouble with fertility, unexplained fertility, and they don't know why. And sometimes just improving those systems of flow and the health going to those pelvic organs is all they need, and it can make it right and they can conceive.
Wow.
Definitely.
So again, I'm not doing any magic. I'm not claiming that this is 100%. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It all depends on your body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny. We were talking about alternative, medicines and procedures and again, listen, right. To your guys' point, not everything works for everybody and not everybody responds in the same way. And, one of the things I really like about Karen, and you've sort of said the same thing, Becca, is right. I mean, you're not looking to just get somebody in the hopper and they're just coming to you constantly. It's like, I need to fix you here so that you can go off there and do your thing. And if you need to, you need me down the road, like, where I'm at. But, again, I think for so many people, they power through life in pain, in discomfort all the time. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm done.
Good for you.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the pain that women experience is just written off as normal. So, and normal doesn't mean optimal, right? There's a really big difference between those two things. So like, for example, the amount of blood a woman loses during her period, it has a really wide range and it can be up to like 80 cc's of fluid. That's a lot of fluid. And doing that month after month can affect your iron supply in your blood. It can really have a big impact on your whole body. So while that might be considered normal in the medical realm, it's certainly not optimal. And if we can help adjust that, help lessen it, help someone be more comfortable just by massaging their abdomen, why not? It's not certain. It's never going to make anything worse. It's not always going to work, but it's never going to make something worse.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Especially when you're working with someone who's got so much experience with it, which is great, which is very helpful.
It is incredible. And I have, I've been very fortunate. I studied with some incredible teachers and obviously I'm still in touch with them. So it's wonderful to have that solid base of people who I can run things by as well.
Definitely.
That's another thing we were talking about earlier, right? Is just, as professionals, maintaining a good network of people that and trust and can rely on. And, again, I think to the greater point of what this episode was about, I think it's, and you guys, like, wow, so much great information. You guys are like so on the same page. Like, that's so cool.
Yes,
it is.
and
really
we are. And honestly, we're newly acquainted, but we the way we approached the body was so similar. And knowing what she does, having experienced what Karen does, she just instantly jumped to mind, with a handful of my clients who I hadn't seen progress in. And I was like, we need to loop Karen in. This is what your body needs.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I enjoyed, working with a couple of them, coming down and meeting them and things. So it was good. Happy to hear.
It's great. Well, and I love to see the shift in the client and see them being happy and having more agency over how they feel.
Me too. That's so important. So it's great.
All right. Well, we are going to have to wrap things up. Becca Torrance Barker, her website, bodyworksct.com, in Vernon. Really appreciate you coming by. Great information. We'll have to have you back. You guys
yeah.
are like,
I'd love to.
Yeah, we'll come.
so
Yeah,
on point. Oh my God, that was fantastic.
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Oh, thank you too.
100%. Yeah, thank you for joining us. That was, oh my God. I feel like I learned so much stuff today, you know? And again, I love this kind of stuff. And yeah, so Becca, thank you for a whole other like rabbit hole for me to really dig into here. Digestive. Awesome.
Excellent. Happy to give you food for thought. Pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. I know poor Joe, he's got like enough to think about already. He's like, now you just gave me another thing to think about. That's what he tells me all the time. I'm like, don't think about it too much because I don't want you to go crazy now.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Jeez. Becca,
All right, well,
I'm going to drop your information in the comment section too afterwards.
Oh,
Right?
perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely do that. And, share it and stuff. I'll share it around, tag you in it.
Great. Look forward to
Yeah.
connecting with you both again.
awesome.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too. Happy holidays to everybody.
You
Happy
too.
holidays.
We'll talk soon. I'll be in touch
Okay.
with you soon.
All right.
Take care. Have a good one.
Oh, she was awesome. That was so great. Oh my God, Karen.
She is. She really is it. And she's great because, she's like a medical massage therapist. So I would recommend people, hit her up, talk to her. She said she's very open to having a conversation. Maybe somebody who's had abdominal surgeries, maybe they've had the gallbladder removed or appendix or, C-section, stuff like that. Why not?
We are covering so many different areas and so many different avenues. And,
Mhm.
I think, again, this podcast for anybody everybody's got something going on, right?
Oh, sure.
Everybody's got something. And eventually we're going to get to your thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I got a couple other people that I definitely have that I'd want to come on here. There's a gentleman that I would like to have on. I was actually talking to him last week. I'm going to see him again on Friday. He has his own business and he had some issues. He had gotten into like a car accident and stuff. So, I know you and I had talked before about, you have to go to work, right? You can't afford to be out. I know we had this conversation before and I was like mentioning that to him and he's like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, so he was totally like on top of all of this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I think if you're interested, I'd like to have you come on my podcast, and just kind of talk a little bit. And he said that he was interested. So I think he's going to be somebody in the future I'd like to have on. I'd also like to have him talk a little bit about his business and what he does because he's done some work for me in my house. And he's done a great job. We could address that for him as well. So, once again, making the power of partnerships. You never know who your partner is going to be, right?
You're so right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, you pick out some really good people.
Oh, thank you. Well,
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, I got you, right?
You know what? I mean, I'm the more people I meet in your orbit, the more flattered I am that I get to be in it.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. I'm happy that we had the opportunity to meet.
Yeah, same here.
Definitely. For sure.
Well, before we wrap it up, one more time, give everybody your info, how they can get in touch with the Movement Boss.
Okay. Well, you can email me at Karen@revoltandmove.com, or you can just go to my website at revoltandmove.com and just hit the contact button. That's
And
how
if
you can
you're-
reach me.
If you're watching this and you're lazy, you could just leave your info in the comments section.
Yeah.
Karen will get in
That's fine.
touch. So any which way but how.
Yeah.
A big thank you to Becca Torrance Barker from Massage Works. That was really cool stuff.
Mhm.
And for the Movement Boss, Karen Ravelese, I am Joe Aguirre. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. We wish you a very Merry Christmas. We will be off next week. We'll be back on January the 6th.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All right.
All righty then.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.